What's up, family? Welcome to our living room.
Hey, welcome back to the living room where we're committed to having real conversations
About life.
About life that hopefully help you in whatever space of life that you're living in. And you and I are living in our Sunday afternoon space right now.
After church.
Hello? After the nap, you took a fat nap today.
I did not.
Yeah, you did.
I pretended I couldn't fall asleep.
So you just went and you hid from the kids and me?
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes. I got like 20 minutes of my K-drama.
Hey, so if you know Diana loves all things K-drama, K-pops. I said K-pops.
I know,
but it's
just
K-pop.
Yeah,
right?
I've always enjoyed Asian fashion, Asian cuisine, and I don't know, within the last, I think since the girls were kind of little, well, actually, when they were like 7, 8, and I used to watch shows, I just decided, you know what, I cannot watch anything because nothing is appropriate to have on television. And so somebody suggested like a K-drama. First of all, I loved it because I could actually leave the audio on and nobody knew what was happening because they can't understand
But you could
Korean.
you could also leave the subtitles on.
Right. But this is weird, guys. Like, I watch shows on my phone. We have a whole TV that I never touch.
Never.
If I'm gonna watch something, I just watch it on my phone.
Yeah, Diana never watches TV on TV. She watches TV on her phone.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting about you.
Yeah, you will not watch anything on your phone unless we're traveling. And even then, he carries his iPad and
my
your
MacBook.
laptop.
Dude, I hate watching stuff on a small screen. I mean, I'll watch if I have to. You know what I mean? I guess social media, blah blah blah. But what would my K-drama character name be?
Oh my gosh! See, that's the whole thing when it comes to K-dramas.
Because like, there's times where you're like, hey, learn these lines in Korean.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
that's you are. Such a lie.
You're like, I want you to learn these lines in Korean, and I want you to say it.
A lie.
Now we won't go too far.
I know like three words.
We won't go too
Korean.
far. We won't go too far in the living room. We won't go to. That's more for the bedroom than it is for the living room.
Type of setup.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
what's my Korean name?
Kim Ling Soo.
Kim Ling Soo. For
Just
real?
kidding. I don't know.
Come on, girl.
No. I literally, that's the thing with K-dramas. Ask any person that watches K-dramas, unless like you're Korean, you really don't know anybody's name. You're just watching it.
But they don't call each other by name.
They do, but you don't pay attention.
That's messed up.
Ask anybody else.
That's almost like cultural appropriation.
No, that's not what I mean.
I'm being ridiculous.
Okay,
I know,
please.
but I just don't understand, dude. I don't know that I could watch a show and not know character names.
Okay, well, maybe you will. But my other friends that I talk to, there's a couple that actually know Korean, so then they'll remember the names because they know the language.
Okay.
So it's easy to remember and pick up. But other than that, it's like, yeah, you don't remember.
Man, listen. I think this is really cool to hear you talk about K-dramas. The thing about K-dramas is that I think in the last, I don't know, maybe year and a half, 2 years, it's resolved a lot of the the friction you and I had about what we watch on TV. Or like we didn't watch TV, but just shows we consume.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're so different.
So different.
You and I.
So I will come sit with you while you watch your show. And I will watch my show on
Here's
my
the
phone.
thing, though. Here's the thing that really gets me is that you'll come sit with me while I watch whatever I'm watching, and you'll still have opinions on whatever I'm watching.
Well, yeah, because I don't want to hear what you're watching, so you put on your headphones and it's fine.
I don't help me understand. Help me understand how you're not watching it. You're watching your own thing. You're in your own world where you're not even paying attention to that if you don't know character names, and like. And like, how in the world are you watching? And like,
I'm not watching.
Here's the thing: like passing judgment on what I'm watching. That's what I want to know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't like what you watch. But I will keep those comments to myself.
You heard her say it. Everyone in the living room is going to hold you accountable to just what you just said.
It's okay.
You're a woman of God. You know that, right?
Yeah, I don't like what you watch. I like TV 14
no,
and TV 16.
Listen, sweet girl. You said, I will keep my comments to myself.
Yes,
That's
and
what
I
I'm
will.
focusing on.
I will. Listen.
That part right there.
I will keep my word. when it comes to those comments. I'll just keep them to myself.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you. Y'all, you heard it. You heard it, okay? You heard it. She says you're going to keep her comments yourself. Between now and our next episode, I'll fill you in.
Report.
We'll do a field report, and we'll see whether or not Diana.
I can.
I don't know, man. Listen, now everybody loves you, and everybody loves you.
Everybody loves you too.
Hold on, but
Oh
it's
my
different.
gosh.
It's different. Everybody loves you, and they're like, Diana's a saint.
No.
Everybody loves me, and they're like, but Cruz probably can't keep his mouth shut, right? Listen,
Why? Because it's the truth. Only one of us can talk for 2 hours without any breaks.
But there's a difference between talking for 2 hours and commentary that is not asked for. No one invited the commentary. I invited you into my space.
Yeah.
I
I'm gonna
invited
keep
you
it, and
into
I'll keep my comments to myself. Got it.
For real. Listen, y'all, this might be a major breakthrough in our relationship if that does happen.
You're so exaggerated.
No, listen. I don't think it's exaggeration. However, I do appreciate when your commentary holds me accountable to things that like I probably should not be consuming or putting before my eyes, right? Now,
So,
I'm not watching obscenity.
Tell the truth and shame the devil. That's why I comment. Conviction. Boom, boom, boom. You just don't like it.
No, you just don't like me living my best life. That's all. That's what it is. You just don't like me living out here living. No, but one of the things that you and I were talking about recently in terms of all of this, right? Like this is low key bickering, but like for real. Like whenever Diana and I have intense fellowship, this is about the extent that we go nowadays. Now there's some moments where it kind of like,
That's when one of us hasn't eaten. When one of us has low blood sugar.
That's big facts.
Or, we're just normal, like grumpy. You can just wake up grumpy.
What we're alluding to is earlier today, we were talking about, actually yesterday, we were talking about, hey, on the next episode, the next conversation we have in the living room, let's talk about our philosophy on how we fight.
Yeah.
Because, listen, we fight. We fight. As hard as that is to believe, right? We fight. And it's usually because of Diana, really, if we're being honest. You're not going to defend yourself?
I mean, people know. I don't got to say nothing.
That's what I'm saying right there. See, all of y'all. That's
God speaks for me. I don't got to say nothing.
Listen. See, that's what it is right there. Everyone immediately assumes Cruz is at fault. Cruz is at the core
Nobody
of the
assumes
issue.
anything. You're telling on yourself.
First of all, I can feel your spirit. Second of all, I can feel their judgy little eyes just thinking like, and I promise you, it's going to be all in the comments on this video. Leave Diana alone. It's going to be, I promise. See, that's why I didn't want to talk about this. So
then let's talk about fighting fair.
No, listen, this is why I didn't want to talk about fighting, period, because I wasn't going to get a fair shake on it. That's what, I'm just kidding. Okay. No, but seriously, I think that you and I, after almost, now, some of y'all have heard us share this before, but just to give you a little snapshot into our world and our context, Diana and I have been together almost 27 years.
That's a whole somebody.
That's a whole young adult. That's a whole married couple, right? Like that, you know what I mean? Like that's a person that's married right now at 27 years old.
Yeah.
And like,
that's a whole person.
We've been together. Yeah, thank you. First of all, I thought you were gonna keep your comments to yourself.
This is a different conversation.
I'm just kidding. No, but I really do believe in the time that we've been walking together and doing this together, you and I, we've really gone through it, first of all. And I don't think we're going to get into all the nitty gritty and show where the bodies are buried. But I think just sharing the philosophy that you and I have on how we fight, right? On how we fight, because you're going to fight. Inevitably, you're going to fight. There's always going to be disagreement. There's always going to be some sort of misalignment, and you're going to miss lunch one day, right?
For sure.
Now, I want to ask this question, babe. What are my tells? Like, how can you tell, like when I walk in a room, how can you tell like, man, this guy's on one? Like, it's going to be like, oh, he's special today.
You're quiet. And you have the grumpy face.
What is that?
Like a frown.
Show me my grumpy face.
No, I can't.
I want you to show the people the grumpy face. Look in that
I have
camera.
no lines. I can't.
Wow. I can't make a grumpy face. Oh my gosh. So
And you're nitpicky. You're nitpicky at things. And I'm just like, usually, you're pretty chill. And you're like a morning person. So you're talkative in the mornings and you're chirpy. Um, but if you wake up and you're just quiet and you're nitpicking things, I'm gonna leave you alone.
I get that. I'm gonna leave you alone when in the morning. Period.
Period.
I'm gonna leave you alone in the morning. 100%.
Yeah.
Period.
I
No,
just don't talk.
yeah. No. You're just yeah,
Quiet.
no. You just don't want people to talk to you.
Right.
You don't want the lights on. You don't want the blinds open. You don't want a
Guys,
sound.
I can get dressed in the dark and I am totally fine with that.
Listen.
And Cruz has to turn on every single light when he wakes up.
See, one of us lives in light, the other one lives in darkness, right? The Bible says, "Come out of darkness into His marvelous light." That's Bible jokes
just
for you
can't.
church nerds. No, but man, look. You expect us to not make a sound. You swear you're a ghost when you like.
Oh, I am.
No, but
I am so thoughtful.
honey,
I am so thoughtful in the
Honey.
mornings. I really am. Cruz is like Shrek. You like open every single drawer, you slam things, you take out pans, you're just loud.
here's the thing you've got to tell people, okay? You've got to tell people that you have like hypersonic hearing. I teach all the
Yeah,
time. I'm
it's
like,
not
dude,
my
you
fault.
have the ears of a German Shepherd.
Guys,
Right.
he's not lying. Like I remember even in our first house, like it was a big house and I could hear you chewing from the living room.
And it
it
was-
would drive me nuts.
And it was, dude, like the living room and the kitchen was a cool, what? I don't know, man, pretty far from each other.
yeah.
And yeah.
It
and-
was not this like
No,
close.
I know. Like you were like, bruh.
Yeah.
No, but I think, look, I think number one, the point is we're all gonna fight.
Yeah.
All
and
of
if
us.
fight is too like harsh of a term because you're maybe dating right now and you're like, we just don't fight, but you're gonna have conflict. You're gonna have some type of interaction.
I think that's a good word. I think that's the right way to say it.
you're gonna have
have
some
conflict.
Yeah, you're gonna have
conflict.
some interaction that you don't agree on.
Yeah,
Period.
I think that's a good word, right? Like, and we'll come back to the dating conflicts because that's actually what prompted us today to say, hey, you know what? Let's just record while it's fresh in our heads. Let's have the conversation. But I don't want to pigeonhole it just to dating
No,
and romantic
friendships.
relationships. I think you're going to have conflict. Not, I think you're
You
going to
will.
have conflict inevitably, whether it's professional, whether it's relational, whether it's family. You're just going to have, if it's the lady at Walmart, right? Like you're going to, the person driving like in the lane next to you or whatever.
I mean,
who
if
doesn't
you're
give you the-
human interacting
There
with
you go.
another human,
Inevitably.
you will have conflict.
Inevitably, you're gonna have conflict. So I think that's point number one, right? Not that we're making points. It's Sunday. I'm like in preacher mode still. Okay, like
Where's that?
someone take me to church right now in Jesus' name. No, but like I think for sure we've got to come to terms with that. That you're going to have conflict no matter what. It's part of human dynamics. It's part of the
Life.
story, right? So you're going to have conflict. You know, Dan, I don't believe people, especially couples. So let me push into that a little bit. I don't believe couples that say we don't fight. Like I don't believe that.
I mean, I believe them if they were dating, maybe long distance, and don't really see each other or aren't in each other's world on the daily.
Sure.
Because I remember when we were dating long distance, we really didn't fight.
Yeah, and we didn't fight because you would just hang up on me.
Yeah, I mean, and we didn't see each other on the daily. So we really didn't have things to fight about.
Well, I
and when
think-
we would see each other, like we were so excited
That's
to
what
see
it
each
was.
other.
That's what it was.
We were very passive with one another. So I'm here to serve you. You're here to serve me. Whatever you want, whatever I want. And it was
Because
easy.
time together was so precious.
Yes, and
right?
it was
Yeah,
limited.
yeah. Time together was really precious. I think we're an anomaly in that though, because nowadays, if we're just talking in the context of romantic relationships, right, or maybe even friendships, right, but I think that it is so just normative to just spend a lot of time together with people you love, which I think that's cool. Community is great. Codependence is not. We'll talk
It's
about
not,
that
yeah.
another day. However, if you're spending time with anyone significantly, I don't believe you when you tell me you don't fight. I
I
don't.
agree.
I don't. Now, you may do things and you don't think it's fighting, but conflict is conflict is conflict.
Yeah.
Now, in our context, it was a little bit of like fire and ice. You know what I'm saying? Like where our version of quote unquote fighting or conflict was one of us burns hot,
Yeah.
the other one kind of stays cool, but it's icy at the
Yeah.
same time, right?
Right.
And what we discovered is that in our times of friction, in our times of tension, in our times of just straight up being mad at each other, because that's true, right? Or annoyed and frustrated with each other, there was a way to handle things where you could fight and fight fair.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for you and I years ago. We came across this, maybe 14 years ago?
Yeah, it's
Something
been
like
a
that?
while. I can't even remember where we came across
Yeah, so we've been
and-
married for 21,
Yeah.
right?
But it's been a minute where we sat down and we were just at a point in our relationship where when we did fight, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah,
You
it was
know?
not pretty.
Yeah.
Our fights weren't pretty. Our fights were mean. They were rude. They were disrespectful.
Yeah.
And that's not just me, fam. Like that's, come on.
Right. And literally, like,
Can I get a
didn't-
confession?
These are my confessions.
Can I get a confession?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I didn't do a lot of talking. I did more crying because you did more.
Bruh,
No. I mean, I said mean things too, for sure.
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
You were just
Why are you looking
faster.
at me? Why are you looking at me like that?
No, you were just faster with it, you know?
Yeah,
And so I didn't have the reps.
I
just cried.
Hey, after 21 years, though, I turned you into a killer.
Yeah.
I
Well,
turned you into a killer.
honestly, you helped me get thicker skin because I
Right.
was super sensitive.
Right. Not in the context of now you fight everybody, right? Which I think that would low key, there's a toxic part of me that's like, I think that's cute. Like I gotta hold my girl, but hey, chill. You know, I
Wow.
think that's kind of cute. Don't quote me on that, man. I know I'm a pastor and I'm supposed to live like Jesus, but I just think that's kind of cute. Like if like my girl's trying to throw hands, because like she's trying to defend my honor or something. It's all good. I got my own hands, boo. I got my own hands. I can get it. No, but that's ridiculous. But no, but like in our context, we decided, look, we're fighting.
Yeah.
And we did try, I think we tried the thing. We're like, let's not fight,
Yeah.
fight, right? But conflict is not always negative.
Oh, right. I mean, when we tried to do let's not fight, all we did was allow each other or just be passive with one another, and we never grew. And the tension and the resentment inside of us grew, but
Right.
we never grew as a couple.
Right.
So we decided to, number one, okay, if we're going to fight fair, we're going to come together. We're going to have a conversation on how to fight fair.
Sure.
And this was done when we weren't fighting. So don't think you're going to have a conversation with your significant other while you're both hot.
Yeah, well, you can't
Like-
do that. You can't do that. There's a story in the Bible that I love. It's when God and Adam are fighting. They're having a conflict, right? There's conflict resolution that is happening that needs to happen. If you remember Genesis 3. Now again, it's Sunday. We're in the living room on a Sunday afternoon. After we stop recording, I'm gonna go cook Sunday dinner. What's for dinner?
What did you defrost?
Always on Sundays we typically eat steak.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna cook some steak, some
And
strip
some
steak,
sourdough.
yeah, we're gonna make some sourdough bread. That's a weird left turn, right? Welcome to ADD, fam. Like that's such a weird.
And I
left
live with you,
turn.
so I just answer your question.
You just go with me. I love you, by the way.
I love you
so much.
But that's one of my favorite meals. Cruz makes the best steaks. And the sourdough, like it's from Costco, and you literally just put it in the oven to bake, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm planning to make some. Not that anyone cares, but here
But
you
hey,
go.
you
It's
might
our
be
living
looking
room.
for a really good sourdough.
I'm planning to make some creamy mushroom risotto.
Okay.
So I forgot to tell you to put on some rice.
Yeah, and Cruz makes everything like from scratch. I can make rice in the rice cooker.
Hey, your rice is bomb though.
I know it is. It's really when I push that
Kamsahamnida.
button.
That
when
means
I push,
thank you in Korean.
When I
See?
push that button,
I'm for real trying to become a K something for you.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just like the storyline.
My name's Ryan Sue.
Oh my gosh.
SOO.
Embarrassing.
Kamsahamnida. I love you. Okay. Now in the Bible says this, in the cool of the garden. That's where my point is. I'm churchy right now. It's a Sunday afternoon. Adam and Eve have conflict with God. They do things contrary to God's
Yeah.
way in Genesis 3. They have this moment of realizing the conflict and they hide. Now, I think this is a great point as we're just talking. I'm trying to not turn into like a teacher, right? But like as we're talking, I think when we had the conversation earlier today with this wonderful couple who came and talked with us, they're dating and they came to talk with us and they asked us the question, hey, can you help us with some of our conflict resolution? And we love to do that, right? We love to help. And anyway, in that they asked, well, how much is enough, is too much fighting? How do
Yeah,
we know
how much
how do
conflict
we know how much conflict we should have? How do we know
is
that
too much?
how do we know how much fighting? What's a healthy amount of fighting, right? And I think that is I think it's a noble question, but it's very subjective, right? Because like a lot of
Yes.
times you think that like yelling matches and like just yell like these blow ups, you call that fighting. But the truth is we all have conflict. We just express it and interpret it differently.
Right.
And so in that point of view, think about this. So God and Adam are having conflict. Adam hides.
Yeah.
That's his response to conflict. You know, you can be in fight or flight mode, right? For some people, your version of conflict or your response in conflict is I'm running away.
Yeah,
I'm
so you
shutting
shut down.
I'm getting passive aggressive.
Or I'm giving you the silent treatment.
Right. I'm icing you out.
I'm ghosting you.
Oh my, hey, talk about that.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
you know,
That's a very like what I was gonna say, this generation, that's what people like to do. They don't want to deal with you anymore. So I'm not gonna answer your calls. I'm just gonna ghost you.
Yeah.
And eventually this will go away.
wow. I don't do good with the ghosting. I'm gonna show up at your house. Like if we're beefing and if like now my personality is I want to resolve it fast. I'm confrontational and it's hard for me to sleep when we have tension.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like suspense.
Yeah, you don't.
I want to know right now. Tell me right now what it is. Tell me right now how to fix it. Tell me right now what I did wrong.
See, and his personality when it comes to when we decided, okay, how are we going to fight fair, was we had to talk about that. Like, I can't tell you right here, right now what I want, so I need you to give me some space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had to grow in that space, and then I had to grow as well. Okay, I can't take too long because my poor husband's going to go crazy too. So that's one way that we grew as a couple.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. 100%. When we decided to fight fair, we made a decision that we're going to, even in our times of fighting and conflict, as we work together to resolve conflict, we're going to serve each other and understand each other well, right? So back to my point, right? Or back to what I was sharing. So all of us interpret conflict different. We in our experience, Diana, we express it differently, right? You retreat,
Yeah.
which is it's not cowardice,
No.
but you're an internalizer,
Yeah.
right? You think, you're quiet. I'm a verbal processor. Man, you know what just occurred to me? Do you remember when we were younger? I don't think I do this much anymore, but when we were younger and you didn't want to talk and I would just follow you around
Yeah.
and like I would just annoy the heck out of you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not a violent person because I feel like, no, for real, I feel like I deserve to get swung on in
Yeah.
a moment like that.
Yeah, you just didn't have those boundaries and you couldn't understand why I didn't want to talk in that moment. And it was all about you.
Right.
You know, and I'm so stubborn. I'm not gonna give you that what is it called? Like, I'm not gonna give into that.
Yeah.
So then I would purposely like hold out longer.
Yeah.
When
You're like,
I
I'm not
might
gonna
have,
I'm not gonna give you the pleasure of this.
yeah,
right,
and
is
I
what
might
you're
have, I
saying.
could have probably talked about it. You know,
Sure.
we both could have been mature about it.
Sure.
But now we understand that, like, if you need to cool off, you'll go for a walk or a drive or whatever. And I no longer feel like, oh my God, he abandoned me. He's never coming back. No, I'm like, good. Go take your drive. Go walk. When you come back, I'm gonna be good, and we can have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's also having an awareness of how the other person
processes.
processes. And that's only done with communication.
I agree, right? And so hopefully you're tracking this, right? If I'm fighting fair, it's not just fair for me; it's fair to
Right.
the other person,
Yes.
right? And so I'm in my fairness and in the spirit of equality and respect. I'm going to give you your space to process the way you need to. I'm not going to force you to process
Exactly.
the way I want you to and the way I feel entitled to. I think that's brilliant. You know, so again, different forms of expression of conflict. Adam hides, right?
Yeah.
Remember the scripture says he sees that he's naked. Oh my gosh, I'm in conflict with God.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hide. And then the scripture says that God actually confronted. He came in and looked for Adam. But my whole point with this, which was a point you made about 7, 8 minutes ago, which is when you're going to create the values for fighting fair, which you need to, okay? You can't just we don't have shared assumptions anymore, right? We used to.
That's why we fought.
And exactly.
Because we had shared assumptions. We never came to an agreed upon value or values in our relationship to where like, no, this is what we both value. This is what we both want to do. We just assumed things of one another.
We just assumed that we were going to behave in a certain way, do a certain thing. And then we got even madder when the things we assumed were going to happen didn't happen. They weren't delivered, but and it was just fuel on a fire.
Yeah.
And then finally we sat down and we actually agreed on, okay, is this how we're going to do it? Yes. Got it. And in a moment, we'll just give you a quick fire. I think we should just talk about those things that we agreed to, kind of rapid fire. But I love the way the conversation has gone, right? And so in that, Adam, is hiding. God comes, and the scripture says it this way, that the Lord came in the cool of the day, right? So one of the two had to wait for things to cool down.
That's
right.
nice.
That the Lord didn't confront until things were cool.
I love that.
And I think that's an incredible perspective for any of us. You're not going to have the right resolution. You're not going to have the right expression of thought, of intention, if you're emotional.
Right.
If you are in either fight or flight mode. You need to be, when you have conversations on determining the values, that's what we did. It was after emotions had calmed down, probably 2 or 3, 4 days after. It was a learning process for us. We didn't figure everything out in just one drafting of like the Bill of Rights or the rules of engagement, right? The Geneva Convention, right?
There was rough drafts, and we would start
right.
over. And hey, you know what? We said this, but I don't think that works anymore. Let's try this.
Right. We were always making addendums and amendments to it, and we still are.
Yeah, we still are.
But it's got to be done in a moment where things are cool, things are chill. You can't be in fight or flight. You have to be in rest and digest, right? In a moment where you're resting, you're able to process, you're able to digest, and thankfully, you and I were able to have the wherewithal and the courage, because I think it takes a lot of trust to submit to this rule of engagement, to submit to essentially these conventions of, hey, we said when we fight, we're not gonna cuss.
Yeah.
We said we're not gonna cuss each other out. Now, the cussing was an amendment because of me. When I was younger, when I was more immature, when I was less of a man, I would really say that. But thank God I'm not a boy anymore. I was very, very comfortable being loose with my mouth and loose with my words, and I would use my words to be harmful. Yeah. The very same way now that I use my words to my very best to bring life,
to bring skill,
and to bring clarity and truth. I was able to leverage my words to be very cruel and very nasty. And we made one of our amendments and one of our agreements, I think that's the right word, is which really hit me most was we're not gonna curse each other out.
Yeah, another one for us is not to yell. And that was more for me because Cruz would say, I'm not yelling, I'm just passionate. But to me, when we get to a level where you're straining and it's loud, I automatically shut down. So if you want me engaged in a conversation and you start elevating your voice to me, I'm not going to hear you. Yeah. I am 100% tuned out. So that's what I would try to explain to you. And you would come back and be like, no, I'm just passionate, blah, blah, blah. And then you came to the realization of like, look, if it's important to you and you're going to be able to hear me, I will do my best to not elevate my voice, which you've done so much better at. And I get it, Cruz. I mean, you're very passionate with everything, So,
but as I've gotten older and more mature and more aware of what's happening under the hood with me, one of the things that I'm really understanding is that I was raised in an environment. It was nurture for me. It was the way I was developed. That the only way I would be heard was if I was able to yell over everything. Right? There was a lot of loudness. There was a lot of just verbal altercation happening on a consistent basis. And there were moments in my upbringing where you didn't know when it was going to happen. It just could have happened out of nowhere, and boom, here we go. It's like we're fighting, right? I'm talking parents, siblings, sometimes not so much, but it really was a type of a parent thing. I'm not trying to throw my parents under the bus. They did the best they could, right? But this was a thing for us. So I grew up with this sentiment. Like, if I look at my teenage years, my young adult years, and it was like, I mean, you remember this, how quick I was ready to fight just people, because I felt like they weren't respecting me, and they weren't, I was like ready to throw hands all the time. I put you in a couple situations a couple times that were just absolutely unnecessary if I knew how to resolve conflict well.
Yeah.
And something that I'm thinking right now that maybe we've never talked about intentionally is that the most important conflict you're going to resolve is the one within you first.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great point, because you can't really have this conversation with somebody else if you haven't looked at yourself in the mirror and been truthful to say, you know what, this is who I am. And if I'm going to be with this other person, I need to adjust who I am to serve them well and to be able to serve this relationship well. But you have to be humble enough and courageous enough to say, hey, you know what, it's me.
Absolutely.
And help me with this.
100%.
Yeah. And I think you did a good job with that, honestly.
Yeah. Well, both of us. I think we've both done it. You've done an incredible job as well. Owning it when it's on you to own.
Yeah, definitely.
And that brings me, it reminds me of another agreement we made, that we're not going to fight to win. Right. Typically when we were younger, we would fight to win. I'm uber competitive. Right.
And I just always thought I was right.
No, yeah, no, but look, it's our strengths, but our liabilities at the same time, right? I don't believe that a strength can be a weakness. It's a contradiction of terms, but I believe that your strength, when it's unfettered, when you let it run away, when it's off a leash, when it has no discipline, it becomes a major liability for you. And yes, you always think you're right, and 98% of the time you are right.
Yeah, and it's just
I don't even argue. You notice I don't even argue with you anymore about certain things. Like, now some things I'm like,
yeah,
but you don't like. If you say, hey, this, I'm like, when it comes to like judging character, right? Like someone's character, it's like if you say this, and this, I believe you. After 20 plus years, you're scary with how like you dial in on how you're able to read people. But it was both of our strengths running away. Right, out of control. We were out of control. We were outside of the discipline of the Holy Spirit, outside of good self-awareness.
For sure.
For sure, no emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And so your hubris, right? I don't want to call it arrogance, but your confidence was, I'm right.
Yeah.
And my confidence or my thing was like, you're not going to be right all the time. I'm going to be right at some point. And so it would create this perfect storm for these crazy, championship fights. And what we discovered, though, I remember when you shared this with me, and I remember crying when I thought about what I had done in my time of unhealthy conflict resolution with you. I remember you saying, Cruz, I don't want to win, because if I win, you lose. Right? And even now it kind of just puts a knot in my throat. And it never occurred to me, right? Like, oh my gosh, every time I try to beat you in an argument, every time I try to win over you, the person that I love the most on this planet, there are 8 billion plus people, but the person that 21 years ago, I said I do too, when I behave this way, she's losing. Yeah. And I don't want you to lose. I don't want you to lose. I want you to win. I want everything you do. Sorry. I love you, bro. But
and as we've grown
dude,
older,
oh my God,
we have definitely switched roles. Like I used to be the crier at the drop of a hat, and we have definitely switched roles.
We have definitely switched roles. Oh my gosh, I don't.
It's no, just kidding.
Wow.
Just kidding.
I hate the idea of you losing. I hate the idea. I hate the thought of you losing. I hate the thought of you losing because of me. And my heart is that you're not ever going to lose because of me, that you're going to win because of me. That your life is going to win and your heart
It's
is going to
beautiful, babe.
win and your dreams are going to win because of me, right? That's my commitment. And so now we don't fight to be right. We fight to
To get an
to be able to
get
together
an
to get the
understanding.
right
Yeah.
understanding,
And so
to get the right outcome.
that verse that we always use before getting angry, before
Proverbs 4, Proverbs
yes,
4 7.
and of course,
Wisdom is the principal thing.
Cruiser knows every single verse in the Bible.
Not every single, but I know this one.
But
Right?
before you, that's the way we
In all you're
teach our
getting,
girls, before you get angry, before you make assumptions, before you punch walls, get an
get
understanding.
an understanding. Yeah,
And that's, I think, what we've committed our lives to. We're not perfect. Like,
at
we're
all.
still going to wake up grumpy. We're still going to be not fed and just throw a weird jab at each other. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. But our heart really is, you know what? Let me get an understanding of like, hey, why did you do that? Instead of like going off on
Yeah,
you.
before you get in a fight,
Yeah.
get an
Let
understanding.
me understand why you did that. Or let me
Yeah.
understand why you said that.
Yeah.
That's one thing you've really taught me is to ask questions. I never used to ask questions. I assumed everything. And so that was something also that you taught me in how to fight fair. Ask questions. And when you ask questions, assume the best of me. Because I don't know, it's the natural narrative of our brains to assume the worst in people, even if it's the person you love. Oh, well, that's why he did it. I knew he would. And I realize I don't want to prove those negative thoughts right. Like, no, I'm going to assume the best in you. So if at that moment I can assume the best, let me ask you why.
Yeah.
Get me out of this. Get
me
me
get-
out of my negative patterns and tell me why you decided to do this.
Yeah. Help me understand. I think that's a statement that has really saved us a
Yeah.
lot of time and heartache. Help
And
me
honestly, it
understand.
takes so much patience and courage for me to ask questions because I'm just like, come on, let's go, let's go. I'm always like, let's move it. And I've learned to slow down, ask questions, and listen to the response. And I think in a relationship, you care for somebody if you care enough to slow down to listen to what they have to say. Because a lot of times it's not even about you. They might have had a bad day at work. Something might have happened in the car or in the car ride with a friend, and they're processing something completely different. But you were just the closest one there, and you got the jab.
Yeah, now they're projecting on you. No, I think this is beautiful. Thanks for taking time to talk with me about it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Love
thanks
you.
for, I love you too. Thanks for jumping in the living room with us. It was just important for us to share this with you and share this conversation with you while it was fresh in our heads. I'm sure down the line, there'll be more conversations about this in the living room. But for today, I think that's good. Hopefully this helps you guys and keeps you from fighting unnecessarily.
Unfair.
And if you're going to fight fair. Hey, we love y'all. Thanks for jumping in the living room with us. Thanks for jumping in the living room with us. It's been so awesome being here with you. Hopefully this content is helping you out. And it would mean the world to me and Diana if you left us a comment on YouTube, maybe hit the subscribe button or turn on notifications. We're trying to drop every single week. I just put us out there like that, but we're trying to drop a conversation every single week. Yeah, man, would love to continue the conversation in the comments or maybe DMs on Instagram. Our Instagram handles are in the description of the video. And until the next time, hope whatever space you're living to the fullest. Have an incredible, incredible whatever day it is for you today. Love y'all. Peace.